welcome to today's Insights from the Shed podcast. I'm your host, Sally Jeans, and I'm pleased to be joined by Hannah Scott, our newest member of the team. We're here today to introduce Hannah and discuss insights on why, from Hannah's experience, she believes using a marketing and digital agency can help you grow your business. Welcome, Hannah. It's great to have you on board.
Hi, thank you.
So firstly, how are you feeling about doing your first ever podcast?
I'd like to say excited, which the podcasts are really exciting, but I am quite nervous, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, we're on our third one and I'm still nervous, but it'll be fine. The worst thing is when you listen back to yourself afterwards, you go, gosh, do I really sound like that?
I'm not looking forward to that. Let's forget about that for now.
Excellent. So since you've joined us, which is approximately 6 weeks now? I should know that, shouldn't I? Really exactly the date. So we've opened an office in Dubai. We've launched a new Oxford and Dubai websites and refreshed our logos. Launched the podcast, and as I said, we're now on our third episode. So more importantly, we've continued to take on new clients and written numerous proposals, all extremely busy. So how are you finding things?
Yeah, it's been great, actually. It's been a fab time to join, obviously, right at the start of all of the Dubai launch and the new branding launch. It's been crazy, so much going on, so many new clients, but it's great to get new clients whilst I'm new. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but
Excellent,
really enjoying it.
Yeah, no, it has. I can't believe how busy May has been.
Yeah.
It's just been, and I just remember doing your interview with you, and I knew we were having Dubai, and I didn't want to announce it. I was like, oh gosh, I was going to be really surprised. But anyway, so for our listeners, can you just explain your role here and what you can bring to the business? It's not an interview, by the way. This is just what you're bringing to the business.
So I joined as an account manager. Obviously, account management's quite an important role within ADS because we're here to look after the customers. I've got quite a lot of marketing experience, so bringing that on board in terms of communications with customers, understanding their goals and what they might like to achieve, and also, pitching in with the ideas of what they can do, looking at their marketing strategy. So lots to do, really enjoying it so far. And, I've got a few clients already, big breadth of what they do, and that's great for me too. I'm really enjoying the variety at the moment.
Excellent. And then was it yesterday you went to a printers?
Yes.
So that was really interesting.
Yeah. So obviously went to see the whole print process. Really interesting. One of the suppliers that we use. Really interesting process. Learn what we can do on a small scale and also huge scale. Again, with our clients, there might be a really small requirement, or there might be a huge glossy brochure or something like that. So yeah, really interesting to see what they're doing and what we could offer for our clients.
Yeah. Excellent, that's good. So you joined us, as I know, from a national beer brand.
I did.
That must be really exciting if you drink beer. Did you get freebies?
We had to try beer. We had to. When we did a product launch, we would sometimes the beer would arrive to us, and we'd actually try it as soon as it arrived. So it would be brewed and created, and we'd be the first to try it, and that might be 10 a.m. Not a huge beer fan, but I did embrace it.
Excellent, okay. So have you always worked in that industry?
No, not at all, actually. So that is my most recent experience. So working on the brand on a national level and also operating their local P&L. But prior to then, my experience is always in marketing, but a real range of marketing. So I've helped small businesses with their marketing strategy. I've worked business-to-business marketing for a few technology companies. Yeah. So a real range of marketing experience, which again kind of felt like the right time for me to work for an agency because we have such a wide range of customers too.
Exactly,
and I can understand each of them in their situations.
Yeah. So what's really interesting is like me, you've come from the other side, that's what I kind of say, call it that, whereby,
Totally.
We've worked for companies where we've actually then had to outsource the marketing. From my side, I've outsourced the production of events because obviously my background's event management.
Yeah.
Have you always used agencies?
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole of my career, I've used agencies in different guises for different purposes.
Why did the beer brand want to outsource their agents, outsource their marketing?
So actually, it's quite an interesting one. So for the brand, for the beer brand that I worked for, the specific brand I worked on, is a huge brand. So there was a lot of reasons why we used agencies, and we used a number of agencies. So if I kind of break it down, one of them was specialist skills. So we were a huge branding team. There is a huge marketing team for this organisation, but there are certain skills that obviously can be a minefield. We're talking like paid advertising, social media specifics, media buying. That's the sort of thing that if you don't do day in, day out, however much you're aware of it, you can't always get the right thing at the right time. So we would use the specialist skills and obviously leave that to the experts then. So we'd outsource for that reason. We also, because we were working on seasonal campaigns sometimes, and they were very specific around certain times of the year or certain activations, having other agencies to outsource meant that we could keep our team as lean as possible and then outsource accordingly. So it would be the flex in the team to mean that we could still deliver campaigns without needing that huge team all year round. So that workload. And I guess the other reason why we'd use agencies is for just general workload. If there's loads to do, we would use organic social would be out with an agency. We would our time then would just be say an hour briefing it, and they would do all of the kind of rollout for us. So a whole wide range. That particular role gave me a real breadth of why I'd use agencies. We relied on them massively.
Yeah. Did you find it confusing using number of different agencies? You know,
absolutely. So definitely. I mean, to be honest, great agencies, but that was hard because then you'd have a number of people to go to all the time. So you would go to certain people for certain things.
But that's not mean it was, you still used it.
And they were great, and that's so important. And, I wouldn't work with an agency unless I had a good relationship with them. And, over time, our brand had a number of agencies that they used because they became an extension of the brand.
Exactly.
Which is so important.
Yeah, I found that. I mean, when I used agencies in the past, from my experiences, that, I just felt it was so important that because they become part of your business, don't they? They're a bit like a work colleague, aren't they?
Totally.
Instead of actually being sat next to them. Yeah. So you kind of like have a relationship where you can actually say to them, not just about work, how things are in general. And I think I've built some really good like long-term friendships with people that were at agencies because you have to be that close to them. I kind of got on them really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And lots of banter and things, which is really important, I think. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So in your previous roles as well, I mean, you mentioned you've been in the tech industry, etc. So did you again use agencies then? So what I'm trying to say is, did you kind of like use the same agencies for all of the different businesses you worked for, or did you use different agencies?
Yeah,
that's right.
Probably a few agencies have crossed over because of my relationship and have carried on over. But my use of agencies in other roles was quite different because in the roles I worked in business to business, often you'd be in quite a large company, but their focus might be in, say, development or engineering or whatever it is. So there isn't a big marketing department. Yeah. Often I would be the only marketing person. So my role would be to work on a strategy and then to coordinate all the efforts of the agencies so that we had campaign output without a huge marketing department. Yeah. So very different, but again, really relying on that kind of agency expertise. Design is a big one. In one company we were creating huge amounts of brochures and things like that. Well, design is a very specific skill.
Yeah, definitely.
So we would outsource that to a designer, and just I would be coordinating it back in. So. Yeah.
I remember we had once a company that thought they could do their own brochure, and they started putting bits of it together. Then they said, we need help. And if you asked Ruth, our graphic designer, she would go, that was a nightmare, because they'd rather just start from the very beginning, because it just, people think that they can do it, and they don't, and it becomes a bit of a muddle.
And sometimes as the person coordinating that, you're taking, like, often the business owners requirements, and you do need to create it in something creative,
Yeah.
but actually you are better with a brief and a discussion with that designer, and then they will bring back what they do best, and that's the best way of doing it.
Yeah.
I've found that over the years. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I think sometimes people think because they've got one person doing marketing that person can do everything, don't they?
Yeah.
But it's not, they
Definitely not.
You do need to. And I'm not trying to sell us as an age. I'm just saying, as both of us being from the other side, we recognise now that actually you do need those people to help.
Yeah, absolutely. It just makes it all work, and you cannot have. It would be very rare to have that person who can do it all, and things like changing technologies and changing social media algorithms. That is a full-time job to keep on top of that. So, you can't expect one individual in an organisation to stay on top of that.
Yeah. So when you appointed an agency, what were you particularly looking for in your selection process?
So,
because I presume money isn't always, yes, okay, you want to look at the budget, but it's not always the ultimate, is it really?
No, it can't be actually. So it goes back to what you were saying about a relationship. So you have to be able to have a relationship with your agency.
Yeah.
So for me, that relationship's so much more important. So that conversation to make sure that they understand what you're trying to achieve and that the agency cares about what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
I would look for an agency that wanted to start perhaps smaller, so were willing to try things and not wanting me to commit for a huge amount of money and a huge contract, because at that point I don't know quite what's going to work. So I'd look for an agency that were willing to flex with me and see what works and see what doesn't. I think I'd look absolutely for transparency. So it is so difficult when you start and, say you get a big price for something and you don't really know how that's made up. Yeah. That can make you nervous because you think, well, what if it doesn't quite go to plan? Or how much more am I going to have to pay?
Yeah.
So some transparency around timelines and costings and stuff's really important too.
Yeah. Excellent. No, again, I've already said it a little while ago, for me, it was all about the relationship and the communication, because sometimes things isn't working, and it's great to have an agent, the production companies that I've used in the past have kind of said to me, it isn't going to work like that. You can't have that presentation on the screen or whatever. You need to go back to the drawing board and not to be afraid to kind of like go, you need to get back to basics and relook at it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you appreciate that. Sometimes you've got this great idea, and obviously I'd hate for an agency to say, yeah, we can make that happen, deep down thinking that will never happen. You need that honesty and need those frank conversations.
Yeah. So what do you think we bring then over agencies that you've worked with in the past?
So absolutely, even from day one, I could see that ADS are completely transparent. Really willing to work through things with a client, care about the client, which is so important, and their objectives, willing to test things and not, just want people to commit to a huge budget. That's massive. But also it's the communication, we are there. We're a small, strong team. So our client can have access to all of us and get those honest discussions. So really clear, really nice process around who looks after them and all the people who do the work. So just that real access to all the specialists all in one building as well, which is brilliant.
Well, except for Ben in Dubai.
That's a very good point. I thought of that, but it feels like with teams these days, it feels like he's still in our building. Yeah, no, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we kind of, I think during lockdown, and I think I said it in the first episode, that we used to talking to people in their bedrooms now, so now that we're talking to Ben in Dubai, it just feels normal. It really does, and you come, obviously Ben will start work a bit earlier than us with a time zone, but you come in, he's there online, and if there's a client question, you get the immediate response. So it honestly doesn't feel like he's over in Dubai at all. Although we're jealous of him when we see how hot it is.
Yeah, exactly. So we put a post out recently, didn't we, that said, a social media post, you had to vote, would you prefer to be in Dubai working or would you prefer to be in Oxford working, with different images? Did you vote on that?
I did.
And what did you vote?
I went Oxford. My complexion. I'm quite pale. I'm ginger. I don't think Dubai's for me, if I'm honest. Not to say I wouldn't like to go there for a holiday,
well,
a mini holiday,
or work.
A work holiday.
Excellent. Okay, so I know, just to summarise things, I don't want to make this as a sales pitch. It isn't a sales pitch about saying we should use ADS because we're great, but just to summarise, so what do you think is really important for businesses to consider then when they are looking to appoint an agency?
So, to reiterate, it is about relationships. So everything, all the things that I would say span on relationship, about an initial conversation that is two-way and an honest conversation. Yeah. Once you get that honest conversation going, I would say you will feel that the communication feels easy between you, and you will feel that you're going to get honest feedback all the way through. So you get that as an instinct. Also, transparency around pricing, timescales, and if things won't work, that you feel the agency will tell you.
Yeah.
I would say the only other thing would be, and it is a big one, you need to feel that agency cares about what you're trying to achieve.
Yep.
And your business objectives, whether that be on a small campaign that you're engaging them for, it might be for your website. You want an agency to really care about what they're going to deliver for you.
Yeah.
And all of those things together, like I say, forms just a solid relationship. Yeah. Everything else you can work through together because, often you're the marketing professional or the business owner, you know exactly what you want, and you need an agency that's going to listen to you but also give you advice. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that also demonstrates about the fact that, a number of our new business comes from referrals from our existing clients. And I think that does come from the relationships that we actually build with our clients. And again, I'm not trying to make it as a sales pitch. I'm just saying I find that really interesting, and that's really key for me, I think, is the relationship.
Yeah, I've seen that massively. I didn't really realise, obviously, from not being in an agency, but ADS really do get a lot of referrals, and it is from customers who are happy. And that's, from me coming on board and seeing that from day one, happy customers, retained customers, you're doing everything right. So, obviously now as I become an account manager, I want to, carry on that good work. But absolutely, honestly, it's been a real refreshing change to come on where customers are happy, and we're adapting to customers all the time too. So.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I appreciate time's getting on and we have work to do. But just on a final note, what team did you pull out in the football sweepstake?
So I pulled out England.
Anyway, thanks anyway. Once again, welcome to the ADS team.
Thank you. I'm really enjoying it, so thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Well, for our listeners, thank you for listening. I hope you found the podcast insightful. Please feel free to be in touch if you'd like to discuss any of the information you've heard today, or you would like more information on what services we can provide. Hannah would love to hear from you. Otherwise, until the next time, enjoy.